So again, some background context for council's benefit. So, I mean, not a lot of surprise here because there was a lot of media coverage of this last fall. High priority for the provincial government, tackling the housing crisis and enabling local governments to help with that by making significant, some would even say generational type change to the Local Government Act that we haven't seen in a long time to facilitate that. So they have done a number of things with Bill 44, and these are just some really quick highlights. Obviously, introduced for local governments new housing needs report requirements, mandated. So basically, the provincial government rewrote your zoning bylaw for you by mandating specific densities in residential zones. They have mandated that your official community plan is going to have to be updated more frequently, basically a 5-year cycle now, based on also the housing needs report requirements. Something for next year at 2025, council is going to have to pre-zone land to accommodate a 20-year housing supply. And also, as council is aware, there's been changes to public hearing requirements, and the province has wiped out your ability to have a public hearing for certain residential proposals that comply with the official community plan. So, in terms of organizing the information and how best to present it to you today, I did struggle with this part of it because there is a lot of information contained within Bill 44. But what I chose to do was highlight on some of the deadlines, because it's those deadlines that we're working towards that are informing some of these questions that we're putting to you. So as you can see here, the first one that we're working towards is the June 30th deadline. And that's when the province has mandated that your zoning bylaw has to be updated to comply with what it's calling its new small-scale multi-unit housing requirements in the Local Government Act. The next deadline after that, which I won't be touching on today per se, is the requirement to have an updated housing needs report done by the end of the year. And then, as I just indicated in the last slide, the next most important deadline after that will be end of 2025, when the 20-year supply zoning has to be built into your OCP and zoning bylaws. The Local Government Act sets out. So now we have to accommodate 4 dwelling units on parcels greater than 280 square meters, which is very small parcel size. For parcels less than 280 square meters, it's 3 units per parcel. And the only situations in which council would only have to allow 2 units per parcel is properties that aren't serviced by community water and sewer. And again, we just did a really quick review of parcels within the municipality, and I think the only ones that we could identify that might fall into the 2 per parcel were the ones that were recently incorporated or consolidated within the town boundary from Electoral Area AA, kind of northwest side of the municipality, up towards the lake. This is just a foreshadowing of what has to happen next, but in relation to whether council wants a high-density residential zone, I suspect that's a conversation we'll be having with you next year when we start looking at trying to meet this 20-year projected growth demand in the OCP and zoning bylaw. We won't really have a good idea of what has to happen until the housing needs report is done by the end of this year, and then we can start getting into pre-zoning. The other thing I want to flag for council too, we might put forward changes related to this, is that the OCP, and again, I even noticed this in the town center revitalization plan, a lot of references to density bonusing. The province is basically wiping that out. When you have to do your 20-year projected growth demand, that cannot be premised on any density bonusing. And again, my understanding is that that's the province trying to streamline residential approvals to help the housing crisis, stopping public hearings as part and parcel of that. That seemed to be a delay. Density bonusing and negotiating around that rezoning, it seemed to be a delay. And basically, if you have to pre-zone 20 years of growth, that almost essentially removes your ability to require that density bonusing, because the thinking is that people won't have to rezone. You'll have pre-zone, they can come in, they can do the development. So how we deal with the existing policies around density bonusing, again, probably a discussion for next year, but something to consider. Having said all that, what the province is encouraging local governments to do, and of course the town is in the middle of this right now, is look at your user rates and also your DCCs. If density bonusing is off the table, they're saying you need to focus on how you pay for this upfront.
Anybody else have a question on this? Okay, so we have a recommendation here, and I'm wondering how council feels about this one.
Move option 1.
Thank you. Second it. So that would be the recommended motion that the low to medium density and medium to high density designations be replaced with low density and medium density. And we'll be brought back to committee of the whole. I'll call a question, all in favor. Thank you very much, Mr. Garish.